topic about how to interpret the Bible. How literally should we take some passages, and how should we go about explaining some of the other passages? Um, this is always a big topic um, within all types of biblical studies. You have so many groups of people that will read the Bible in one kind of way, and then another group that will read it in a completely different way, and a lot of this is because of newer Protestant belief systems as it arose over time. But the big question is, how do we understand the Bible? So I'll be first starting off with some of the early parts of Genesis and how we can go about trying to understand those kinds of passages and whether or not these are the correct types of ways to understand the Old Testament or the New Testament in general. So people that take the Bible completely literally, we call them young earth creationists, will say that the Bible should be read completely literalistically throughout its entirety. Now, there is a bit of hypocrisy, I think, with some young earth creationism, because some young earth creationists will fully accept this proposition to follow this belief that I just said. However, they would deny things in the Bible, let's say like the flat earth, how the Bible clearly states that the earth is flat. And there's tons of passages for this. This is nothing new whatsoever. Because the Bible was written into the context of other ancient Near Eastern texts of their day as they're responding in polemic concepts. So we can see that even the young earth creationist doesn't take everything literally. For example, they will also not take literally the idea that Jesus is bread when Jesus says, "I am the bread of life." They also don't take the part literal when Jesus says that I am the door. No Christian, no young earth creationist Christian will say that Jesus is a literal piece of wood with four hinges on it. So the question is which ones do we take literally and which ones do we take hyperbolically or metaphorically? So the easiest way to answer it is to say, well, it's dependent upon the context of the passages itself. For example, we know Genesis can't be literally because if we take it literally, it's false. As I've said, Genesis clearly teaches that the earth is flat. Last time I checked, the earth is certainly not flat. However, another way to detail this is when looking at passages like the creation account of Genesis. For example, when it talks about creation, it tells us that the earth was made before the sun. This is scientifically impossible. It just makes literally no sense. Now, some young earth creationists will try to posit that there must have been some kind of other light source that God made in the universe, and then he used that light source as a way to, create Earth in the way that he says he did. However, we have no evidence that there was ever a star of any sort surrounding our solar system some 4.5 billion years ago, or 6,000 if you want to take it in that way. So we have no evidence to conclude that that's true. The Bible also teaches geocentrism, which is the belief that Earth is the center of the universe and everything revolves around the Earth. But we know that that's not true. We know that the sun is the center of the universe, and we rotate around it along with all of the other planets. So these are things that the Bible has gotten scientifically incorrect. However, my point that I would say to a young earth creationist is this doesn't matter because the Bible isn't a science textbook. The writers of the Bible did not know or understand science, so we shouldn't be trying to understand the Bible in a scientific worldview because, like I said, they didn't know it, they didn't understand it. The Bible is unique only because of its theological teachings and understandings, not for its scientific understanding, because remember, the current ideas of our scientific understanding of the world only began in the 15th and 16th centuries with guys like Isaac Newton and Copernicus and Galileo, Johannes Kepler, and whatnot. Now, science is a Christian invention. However, we don't want to make the mistake here that and try to say that the Bible is attempting to teach us this science. It's something that goes all the way back to the days of Augustine, where Augustine would say things like, God has given us two books. He gave us the book of nature, and he gave us the book of Scripture. And both of these books cannot contradict. So to come to the conclusion about God existing, you could come to the existence of God in either way, according to early church fathers. So, that's the most basic way to look at it in that way. So, let me even make this more clear to people that may not be fully getting the gist of what I'm saying here. For example, in Proverbs chapter 23, verse 16, it says, "My inmost being will rejoice when your lips speak what is right." This is obviously in reference to God and whatnot, and this passage is basically saying that the word inmost being is literally in Hebrew meaning the kidney. So, why don't young earth creationists believe that the kidneys rejoice? Right? So these are things that merely just don't make any type of sense. Another example, in Psalm chapter 91, verse 4, in reference to God, it says, "He will cover you with his feathers, and under his wings you will find refuge. His faithfulness will be your shield and rampart." Why don't young earth creationists believe that God is a bird? Well, this is what I mean. Is obviously this passage does not literally mean anything about what it's attempting to say. It's the theological messaging that it wants you to get to understand. In reference to Psalm 91:4, it's not saying that God is a bird. All it's trying to say is that God protects you and will help you. But it's using metaphorical language to get you, as the reader, to understand that. And that's all that's happening here. And that doesn't mean that the entire Bible is read this way, but there's a lot of passages in the Bible that are supposed to be read this way, and I would argue that Genesis 1 through 11 is another example of that. Because we know that we can't have a day before there's the sun. You have to have a sun in order to have a day, because that's what constitutes a day. You can't have all of these things that the Bible is trying to say as true. So this is the point, is Genesis is not unique in saying that there was 6-day, 7-day creation. This actually was first written about in Babylonian texts. So this is another big problem for young earth creationists. So these are things that have to be taken into accordance to understand what the Bible is even attempting to say. We have to understand the numbers that these people wrote to us when they right, like the number 7, what are they attempting to get across here? Because we know number 7 in antiquity and the ancient Near East doesn't always mean something literal. For example, the day 40 in the Bible has really strong theological significance to it. Now, someone could argue that a lot of the days within that, of the 40-day fasts or the 40-day of the wilderness with Moses, these things can be taken literally, and they can also be hinting at some kind of theological reference too. So that all could be true, and that's all fine. So a lot of people then, when I start talking about some of these newer ways of understanding the Bible, a lot will ask, well, how do we know that the universe is old to begin with? By what standard of evidence are we saying that the universe is very old? Well, one of the things that happened was the discovery during the 1920s that the universe is expanding triggered a new wave of cosmological thinking. By 1931, the Belgian priest and astronomer by the name of Georges Lemaitre hinted that all the material in the universe had began as a single condensed sphere, the origin of the Big Bang Theory. I think the word that he used there is a cosmic egg of some sort. By 1948, the Austrian Thomas Gold and the Hermann Bondi and Fred Hoyle proposed a rival theory to this continuous idea. So we just see how over time we can see the physical evidence to conclude that the Big Bang was true. So thank you guys for watching. Like and subscribe for more content like this, and let me know what you guys think down below.